Okay, this is Sasi, and I'm going to start with our social science and one of the great topics on which foundation everything depends, and it is all about history. And we're going to start with our past one. It's a textbook of history for class 6. And in this history, we will talk about a number of things that is required from the point of view of examinations. Particularly, this project is only for the students who are preparing for UPSC and those who want to understand the dynamics in history. So it will be beneficial for all of them. So it is something for all those who need it. Okay, we have something written here like we have National Curriculum 2005, and it says that the life those who study at the class 6, they should not be as a receiver of particular kind of knowledge, but should be a participative, a kind of environment should be there, and they should not be restricted to their school life only. They should also try to explore their outside activity too. So it will all depends on to pursue the imaginative activity that a teacher has to uh, you know the teacher who has ability to encourage the people to ask question, and then this is how the imagination is explored. So that depends on teacher. And the book says that if we perceive and treat children as a participant in learning, not as a receiver of fixed knowledge. Okay, so this is very important one. And then we have the flexibility, and the time has been given in the design of the course, and there are a number of thankful notes to all the teachers who helped them in preparing these books. We have our national anthem written here, and then the national anthem, which have been composed by Rabindranath Tagore, and which Hindi version by Constituent Assembly at the national anthem, adopted in 20th or 24th of January 1950s. And the here we start our course. Why we study history? As the meaning of the social science, which helps us to understand the working of our social world, but history transport us to another world where there was no any railway, where there was no any communication, where there was no laptop, no internet. The world was full of chaos. So people were nomads. So the most part of social science tells us about the world which is in present, but history will help us to understand how present is evolved. It will tell us the past of the present, and it is also important that every country in this world has its own history, and by understanding of history, we can know about their custom, their culture, their ideas, how people's different in their terms, and this is how history helps us to understand the processes that led how present and their custom evolved. In a sense, history is an adventure across time and space where everything was different, and the changes which happened in a phased manner. And there were so small changes which cannot be noticed, like telephone in 1990s. Telephone seems to be a bigger dream for the people up to 2000, and the revolution of technology like smartphone, mobile phones, they have gone through a phases, and now the life is so much easy, so much assimilated to the smartphone life that we cannot even imagine. a life without a smartphone. For a student who are attending live classes, for for businessmen who are attending the who are using digital payment system, even the government is focusing on how to promote digital technology, digital payment system. This is how the changes happens in a phased manner, and most of the time it goes unnoticed. We used to take the society as it is today. So we can observe these changes in their long-term effect. This is what it has written in this history book. And it is not only about the conquest and policies of the king, but also the lives and activity of ordinary men, women, and children are also historical activity of understanding and not only political events. It is about everything which happens in a society as a large. So it is like a detective work who follows clues and traces people who lived in the past. So a studying of history can help both in understanding more than the past. Hmm. So that is what it has written, and we are also thankful to all the scholars who helped to prepare this book. Now we are moving to the first chapter of this book: what, where, how, and when. So there was a question that several things we can find about our history, like the peoples who were hunter gatherers, who left a number of bones, they left a number of tools, they left a number of huts, and all the remains thing is found in the earth. They have been excavated by the scholars, by archaeologists, and they were used to construct the history, the society of that time. And this is how we construct past. There could be the sources which can be archaeology. Okay, archaeological sources could be there. There could be literary sources. Okay, then we can have also the monuments, ruined cities. Okay, and we will cover all of these in a subsequent chapters and lessons. So this is how the life is. Now this book says that what can we know about past? We can know the life of hunter, hunters, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, craftsperson, artists, musician, and scientists, and the games children play. So everything is there, but from where we can find out all these things? Like, as the book says, that on the river Narmada there were several thousands of years ago some earliest people who lived here were skilled gatherers, the people who gathered their food. They knew about the vast wealth of plants surrounding in it, and they collected roots, fruits, and other forest produce for their food. They also hunted animals, and we can see where is Narmada. Narmada river is located here in the central part of India. Now, here the people first lived where they skilled gatherers. Now we have Suleiman and Kirthar Hills that is located in the northwestern subcontinent, frontier of the Indian subcontinent. And then we had here are the area where women and men began first to grow crops such as wheat. So it's a wheat wheat producing area. Yeah. And this is what it says. Now barely about 1800 years, 8,000 years ago, and people also reared animals like sheep, goat, and cattle. And they lived in a village, like they have village economy. First thing is very clear. They have the village economy, okay, and then they grow crops like wheat and barley, and they reared animal like goat, sheep, and cattle. You must have to remember a number of things here, like if you come across the various sites like Mehergarh, then the Mehergarh has explicitly mention about cattle because the bones of the cattle is found in a numerous amount, and this is something that could be a question. So we will take care of this in the latter phases. Like we have written here that Garo Hills in the northeast, that is located here under the Brahmaputra river course of river. Then we had Vindhyas in the central. These were the area where agriculture developed, and the rice was first grown at the north of Vindhyas. So north of Vindhyas, that is here, that is north, and this is where rice grown. You could have come across a number of facts like rice have been found in Allahabad. A number of discovery is there, wild rice. So the rice which the peoples used to grow, they just bow the seed and they do not transplant it. Later in the Vedic phases, you have seen come across that the surplus production was there, and the kingdoms like Magad came into prominence because of the two factors, like surplus production because of use of iron technology, also because of transplantation of paddy. So these things are required to be remembered. Like north of Vindhyas, the rice was first grown. Now we have Indus and tributaries, which is located in here. Indus and its tributaries Helam, Chenab, etc. have been there. So it's come across in the Arabian Sea. And the Indus and tributary, the cities flourished, and kingdom flourished on the bank of Ganga. Ganga and its tributary south of Ganga known as Magad, which is the biggest kingdom, and they were set up in the other parts of the country as well. So that is kingdom. Then we had to remember the things which we have come across to know the facts we like Kirthar and Suleiman Hills. Here the peoples used first to grow wheat and barley, then it also marks the rearing of animals, and the river Ganga, which marks the kingdom, and the north of Vindhyas and Garo hills where agriculture developed and rice developed in the north of Vindhyas. Narmada is where the earliest people used to live, and they were skilled gatherers. So, coming to the point, what is required for a normal reader and what we require to CSE, it might be possible that there could be a question: what are the peoples in the Paleolithic era were were educated, where they have any skills? So how do we answer these questions? Like there is vast wealth of plant, there could be poisonous plant, there could be some wild animals who may have a stronger strength than human. So in order to be a hunter gatherer itself, it requires a number of observation, a number of skill, a number of strength, a number of identification of plants, a number of identification of animals, their habitats. So in order to survive even in the Paleolithic age, humans require some amount of skill, and this should be passed from one generation to another generation, either in the form of observation, either in the form of oral communication. Since most of the tribe have their own language, own culture, so it might be possible they might not be understandable by the other culture, other tribes, but they pass their information to their progeny offspring. Okay, this is what we have. And then we have a number of things like merchants who travel in the carva. They carry ship, and they carry also goods and travel from here to there. A number of religious teachers, they could travel and walk down to the village from town to town and instruct the people about the way of life, philosophy of the god, etc. Some people may travel because of a spirit of adventure. Like after Renaissance period in Europe, the peoples started financing voyages, and people started the spirit of adventure, and this led to a number of voyages financed by the king, and later a number of successful discovery like the route for India and America discovered. And this is what happened in the Paleolithic era too, when people moved from here to there. So people from across the frontier came into subcontinent and settled down in a place. People's movement enriched our cultural tradition. They shared new way of carving a stone. They used to compose music and even cooking skills, which evolved over thousands of years. So we have the name of the land. What the name of land, India, and how it evolved. There are two of the words we often use for our country, that is India and Bharat. The word India comes from Indus, which is called Sindhu in Sanskrit. However, Iran and Greece. You have come across the fact that when the Arabs arrived in 500 BC for the first time, due to the King Dahir was the ruler of Kashmir and sub and the area near you know modern Balochistan. So a ship used to go from Morocco to another part of the world, and one ship was looted by pirates. The, since the ship was looted by the pirates, the Moroccan king thought that it was the army of the king Dahir who looted the king because of enmity. Thus, he ordered for the compensation, but King Dahir refused it and he attacked. Since then, since it was called Sindhu in Sanskrit, it was Indus in common word, due to pronouncing initial S of this Sindhu, turn it to Hindu. Okay, like we have come across the name like Hindustan. It's a name which have been given by the Arabs, and this Hindu turned Indus because of the river, and the peoples who lived besides the river were called Hindus and Indus, and this is how the name evolved. Now, the land east of the river is called India. In the modern sense, the name Bharat, which have been used for a tribal people who live in a group of tribal people who live in the northwestern frontier of the country, and which are also mentioned in the Rig Veda. One question could be asked that the name Bharat, which have been mentioned in any of the script, ancient script, could be Rig Veda, could be name of the some Brahmins, could be name of the Purans, but it is mentioned in the Rig Veda itself. Now, Bharat verse is first time mentioned in the Panini Ashtadhyay also, which is a grammarian, famous grammarian, and number of things we have. Now, finding about past. There could be a number of sources to find about past. Like we have archaeological sources, we have literary sources, we could have the sources of monuments, which ruined cities, numismatic, a number of things. But for literary sources, we have manuscript and inscription. The manuscript which was written, which used and they have been written by the hand because of written by hand, they are known as manuscript, and they usually written on the palm leaf or on a bark birch of a bark tree known as or especially prepared bark of a tree known as birch, which grows in Himalayan. So over the years, many scripts have been eaten by the insects. Some were destroyed, but many have survived, and they have been often preserved in the temples, monasteries, and they deal with all kind of subjects. They are not only religious subjects, they are not only king's order, they deal with every kind of subject. They are they deals with the religious belief, they deals with the religious practices, the lives of the king, medicine, science. It could be an important question. You have to mark it down. Many of these were written in Sanskrit, other in Prakrit and Tamil. We can have also manuscript and inscriptions. Inscriptions are written relatively on the hard surface. Manuscripts are written on the leaf or bark prepared from birch tree. Hard surface means that they could be survive for a longer period of time. They could be a stone, they could be metal. Sometimes king got their order inscribed so that people could see, read, and obey them. Like the king Ashok, which is a famous one. Pillar inscription, minor inscriptions, major inscriptions, and number of things. Then we had the deals that other kinds of inscriptions where men and women recorded what they did. What they did, it is a personal achievement, and this is known as prasastis. This is known as what? Prasastis. Prasastis are the inscriptions which are written in the praise of a king, and this is what the you will see Samudrup Prasastis of by and the Samudrup Prasastis which have been written on Samudrup Prasasti of Allahabad. And in his Prasasti, it is written that the charming king who has thousands of scars in their body, which is shining like anything, like sun, moon. So they have been written for the in order to get money from the king, it in order to get some praise, rank. So they cannot be trusted at all. These things are. While the inscriptions like king order, they could be useful for the construction of administrative ruling history of the king. And this is what important. So those who study the objects are called archaeologists, and they explore the and excavated the they excavate the earth. They find tools, they find weapons, they find pots, they find pans, they find ornaments and coins. They are all useful in construction of history, and you will see in this coming chapters. There is an inscription which is 2000 to 50 years old, and it's found in Kandahar, Afghanistan. A ruler which is named as Ashok, and when we write anything, we use script which consists of letter and sign, and the language we skip. The the speaking is something that use of a language, There was inscription who mentioned about two different scripts like Greek and Aramaic. So it is not a mono script. So it's a two scripts which is found in the Kandahar of Ashok. They will similar. The number of Ashokan edicts were there. Then we have archaeologists also look for the bones of animals, bird and fish, what the people ate, and they used to consider the dietary habit of that people. And historians of and scholars also study a number of sources which have been found in the manuscript, their their cities, how they plan their cities. There could be administrative building. There could have been a number of religious places, and all of these materials which found in that specific location, they are used to construct what and how the society of that time looks like. So it is an adventure of the past. So what about the one past or many? Like the people who are in a backward area where there was no any government reach, even in the present time, like the Andaman, Lakshadweep, and many more tribal area where the sophisticated technology has not been penetrated yet. Their custom culture have been unique. They are protected by the constitution even. So the peoples who live in the cities, the peoples live in the village, the peoples who live in the tribal area, they are totally different from each other. The life of even the merchants is different from the craft person. The life of a doctor is different from the students, the professors. So everyone have their own life. So we need not to focus only on the kings and queen, but on the overall society as a whole. And today, most of the people who living in the Andaman Island, they have a unique culture. They have own food by fishing, hunting, collecting forest produce, and it has been even protected by the government of India. This is what the difference even existed in the past as well as in the present. That is why history sets example as well as why. What dates mean? We all know that the birth of Christianity is there. So 2000 years mean the AD, that is after the birth of Christianity, before the birth of Christianity. There is also known as BE and CE, that is Common Era, that is before Common Era, and Common Era, that is birth and after before birth. There are inscription which contains letter and scripts scripts and language, and the scholar who used to study the ancient script and the language, they are called decipherment technology. The process is known as decipherment because they used to decipher what is written in that inscription. The Greek and their script language who used to read that, they were known as Kartok. I don't know what the name, what should I pronounce it, but it's called Kartok. So we have this. Then we have Narmada Valley, and there are a number of questions which you can have gone through. So it is not required even. Now we move to the on the trail of the earliest people. On the trail of earliest people, that we described them as hunter-gatherers, the earliest people, and they were described as a hunter-gatherer. They hunt animals, they gathered fruit, not seeds, sleeps, and eggs. So the what I told you in the introduction, that this nothing was easy. Animals could run faster than us. They are stronger than us. The in order to even hunt animal, we need to be quick, alert, have a lots of presence of mind. There are seasonal fruits. They have to avoid even the natural hazards about the seasons like winter and chilled winter and hot summers. So we have to be aware about all the things, and this is what the skills and knowledge they have to be. There are a number of reasons for why people move from here to there in the search of food. There is the first reason, in search of a small prey. There is another reason. Then sometimes the people used to study and observe the habitat, and they used to follow them, and being following an animal or hunt prey, they move from here to there. They also, there are some plants bear seed and fruit in the some seasonal basis, and this is what they have to move from here to there in order to gather that fruit or seed. There are a number of water channels which are not perennial; they are seasonal. That is why every animals need some water, and they used to move here to there in search of water during the dry season. And there could be reason that since the communities develop, so the tribes have their interaction with each other, and this is what they used to meet their friend and relative. We have some things that hunter gatherer made and used, like we have some tools which we found today. They used to cut meat on scrap the tree's bark and hide in animal hide for the since they do not have their sophisticated clothes like us, so they used to hide in animal skin. So a number of tools technology they used. The thing is that the tools and technology, like since we used to divide and classify the period Paleolithic, Neolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic, etc. That depends on the some events which occurred in a particular time period, or they used to classify the things like the development of tools and technology. Like in the earliest phase, in the Paleolithic phase, the tools were not so much sophisticated. They were not a specialized function. They used just a stone for their own, like hand axes, chippers, clobbers, and chopping tools. But with the Mesolithic, there come point burrs, fishing tools. So these things become specialized. In Neolithic tools, we have agricultural tools. We discovered wheel, we discovered fire, we have settled community. So everything got their periodization because of their sophistication. There were use of wood which used to make huts and tools is there. We also know that. Then we have a number of sites which have been located by the archaeologists where they found evidence of hunter and gatherers. Like Mehergarh. Mehergarh is in near the Bolan Pass, and we have Bhimbetka, Khaldiva, Chiran, Daujihari, Mahagarha. So these sites were some sites which are Neolithic site. They were the earliest agricultural site. There are some characteristic feature of the site like Bhimbetka. Bhimbetka is some sites which is Paleolithic, and it has a number of paintings, more than 500 paintings available there of different periods. Then we had Inamgaon. It is a site of earliest village. We have Hungasi. It is also the Paleolithic site. Kurnal Caves, Paleolithic site. Brahmagiri and Adichalur were megalithic site. Then we had Burj Home, where domestic dogs were buried with their master. Hmm. In Amgaon, where children have been found in the most amount, we have Kurnal Caves, where the fires have been found there. So in number of things we can locate. We have a stone as an important tool. So people used to live where the stone found in a profound, where they were easily available and of the good quality. They used to make tools there. That is known as factory site. When people used to live there and make tools, they are known as habitation come factory site. In most of the cases, like in Madhya Pradesh, people choose a natural caves to live as they provide shelter from rain, heat, and winds. They have been found in the Madhya Pradesh, in the Vindhyas region, in Deccan Plateau. Hmm, that is what we have. Then we have sites. Are the places where remains of the things have been found. These were made, used, and left by the people. They used to dig the surface by the tools in order to build it. Then we have making a stone tools is two technology available. A stone on a stone. Then we had pressure flaking, and we all know about all these things. Then we had fire. Cornwall caves in the map too have traces of ash which have been found here. This suggests that peoples were familiar with the use of fire, and it is important. Fire is an important discovery as we know that fire is the tool which can be used to avoid animals, also used to clear forest, also used to, since the fire is there, used to cook food, and the cooked food has a less number of disease and they could survive longer, and this is how the community develops. So fire is important in the changing environment, like about 12,000 years ago, after the ice, the climate getting relatively warmer, ice melt into water, led to relatively warm conditions, grassland developed. And since you know, as you know in environment section, in a grassland ecosystem, there are animals who are primary producers. Then we have primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and there evolved a complex food web chain. But for the understanding of history, it is a grassland economy, and people used to live there, and they used to. There is a led to increase in the number of deer, antelope, goat, sheep, cattle. So animals who are primary producers survived very much, and fishing also become important. And most of the time, people live on the banks of the river. Now they shifted to the top of the hills. Our on a relatively up surface, and there was time when there were rise in the grasses, wheat, barley. So women and children they collect food for their proper feeding. They could now not have to search here and there, wander there and where, and they do not have such a nomad life. They could now settle in a very small regional geography. And This is how led to a satellite, and they learned where they grew, how they grew, and when they ripe. And they also try to understand all of this. Now we have names scented like Paleolithic. Paleolithic means old, Lithic means a stone. It records the period from 2 million years ago up to 12,000 years ago. Also, the period we find environmental change begins from 12,000 years ago to the 10,000 years ago, known as Mesolithic. How do we measure such a vast range? Because if you come across the crust topography in the geography section, you will see there are some caves which have been formed inside Earth, and these hollow caves have stalagmite and stalactite. By measuring the carbon of the in the layers of that stalagmite and stalactite, you can have the dates from where the environmental change begins. And this is what we need. And to know this, we have a particular age which got its timing in the world historical scale, and the timing is known as okay, I will tell you later because I'm not going to remember all the thing, but we will search it and I will tell you definitely. Then we had rock paintings. Since the people live in the caves and people live in the caves where there was a number of things they used to decorate. Since it was a natural cave, they have to decorate it. If they used to make a cave, then they also have to decorate it. So there are a number of paintings which have been found, like a person who is catching deer or antelope whatsoever. So the has image showing the great accuracy and skill of the people who used to draw this. Okay, they also showing the emotions of the people, like how they had, and there are different ceremonies have been depicted in the paintings. This is what shows their culture. Sometimes words are not enough to describe things, but paintings are enough. Hmm. So we have. So what did? Who did what? Like people used to hunt, make a stone tool. They also have the skill of painting. But is there any division of labor between the men and women at that point of time? We do not really know. May have been some work done by the men, may have been some work done by female, but there could not be a watertight separation between the division of labor between men and women itself. We have founding of ostrich where beads have been, you know, there are a number of ornaments have been made out of ostrich egg. We have Hungasi, a large number of tools used to sort all activity were found here. This is also known as habitation cum factory site. Also, there is evidence to suggest that the tools were made up of that. So evidence that suggests that tools were made. Most tools were made up of limestone, which are locally available, and this is what we can know about the things which have been remained there. Now, elsewhere which have been there, so the thing is very clear. Like the painting which have been done in India and the continents which is other than India. So the painting in India has been done in such a manner that, like the painting which is on the France, they have the bisons represented in a bright color. Now in India, the painting could have been made with the color by the natural plants and the natural colors which have been like ripened food fruits of the some plants which can give color to you. So they used to make pest out of it. They used to make fresco painting by making a layer of some mud on it. So there are a number of things which we can learn from the idea of painting itself. Now we are moving to the chapter number 3, that is gathering to the growing food. And the gathering to growing fruit, like there we have varieties of food, like most of the foods such as vegetable, grain, milk come from the plants or animals. We used to rear different animals prefer different environment. The beginning of farming and herding, men and women children probably observed the things since there was grassland ecosystem. Environmental change was there, so people used to live and they could settle into a small geographical area. They used to observe the things, and by observing the things they used to protect the trees, plants, and in a way they become farmer. And when they become farmer, they used to require the animals as a protector or as a understanding of their nature, and as a food. They used to feed and tame the wild ancestor of dog. We have domestication. It's a name of for the process where people grow plants and look after animals of the selected plants and animals. It's a gradual process which took in many parts of the world. Hmm. Now we have a new way of life. Like a grain had to be stored since they used to produce surplus of their production because of grassland economy ecosystem. So they used to store it in a clay. So clay is they used to store in clay pots and used to make it. They wove baskets also. They dug pits also. So this is how they used to store the food. Also, they used to domesticate animals for their food as a store of food. They used to rear animals for a store of food. Now we have about some farmers and herders. Like we used to notice the blue square like Neolithic, which we see in the map number 2, which is Dauji Harding, Mehergarh, and Mahagarha. Okay, etc. have been used to be the places there in the map too. Here we see that they were the archaeologists found the earliest farming and herders family. So what are the criteria for declaring that they were farmers and herders? Scientists studied evidence of plants and animal bones there, remains of the burnt grain. So they find a number of things like wheat, barley, sheep, goats, and cattle. Since they're finding wheat, barley, it means they should have produced in a surplus amount. There is sheep, goats, and cattle means they could have been eaten, and they are found in a abnormal amount, not in the as like one and two. They should be found in 100, 200. So that is why how they declare that it is a site for the earliest farmers and herders. As we all know that carbon dating is also done. We have rice fragmentary animal bones in the Koldiva. We have rice hoof marks. Like sometimes animals have some paws and all. So we have the hoof marks like thing on the clay surface in rice and cattle Mahagarha. Wheat and lentils in the Gufkaral. Wheat, lentils, dog, cattle in Bujhom. Ox, black gram, millets, cattle, sheep. It is in Payanpali. These were just some sites from where grains and bones have been found. is broader classification where grains and bones found. Payampalli, Hallur, Chirand, Buzahom, Gufkral, Mahagarha, Koldeva and Mehergar. Now we are moving towards a sterile life. Archaeologists have found the traces of huts and house at some site. Like in Buzahom, present day Kashmir, people built pit houses which were dug into the ground with steps leading into them. The pit house is under the ground. We could have the pit houses with the exterior construction of igloo, and these houses provide shelter in the cold weather. The cult of hearth were both inside and outside, depending on the weather. Okay, now some tools have been found from many sites as well. Many of these are different from the earlier Paleolithic tools, and that is why they called as Neolithic site. I told you on nature of stone tools and the things which happened in a particular period of time. The sophistication of tools increases with the time, and this is led to the classification of time period. Like in this phase, the tools were polished, they were cut in a fine edge. There are a specialized purpose they used to for grinding grains like quants. Uh, they have been found there. Grinding tools, stone have been found there. Okay, in even the present time, the mixer we used and the silbatta kind of thing. In Bihar, we could say it's a lodi. So these things have been even used today. Okay, so it could be a question, and it might be a question I come across that what are the continuities of ancient Paleolithic our of the Stone Age in modern life? What are the continuity of Stone Age in our modern life? Describe. So we could have traces of some stone things which used in our daily life like querns. Even we used for the grinding a stone for grinding our wheat, barley. Uh, we used we used to have some jata kind of thing which used in many part of the world, and chakki pisna, that is in the Polish language, and this is also used in a modern time. So these are some continuity which we can trace it out, and it may have some imaginative activity we can do with it. Also, the Paleolithic type continues to be made and used even in the Neolithic era, and the tools were made up of bones. There are bones which have been used for the making composite tools. There were sometimes tools were decorated, hmm, and we used to storing things like pots. Pots have been used for making cooking food, storing grains, rice, lentils, and they are important part of their diet. They begin weaving cloths like cotton have been found in the region, and this is known as Sindan, which is very famous inside the world at this point of time. So that is things which have been written there. The customs and practice. Many were herders live in a group called tribes. They have certain custom and practice that may have existed at that point of time. Tribes have some features. Like they belongs to one family. They used to grow plants and harvest in a common aim. Their children used to look for them. There are domestication of animals. They used to have their own singing, dancing, and decoration. The some men were leaders, are regarded as leaders. They may be old and experienced. They have the brave warriors list. Old women were very much respected for their wisdom and experience. They have a rich, unique cultural tradition of the language, music, storage, and paintings. There are no stark division between rich and poor. They have the wealth for the entire tribes. Now, since we look for the Hungsi as a site, now we look for the Mehergarh, a fertile plain near the Bolan Pass, most important route to Iran. There are rearing of sheep goats. It is one of the earliest villages, and it is the archaeologists who excavated the site found animals bone from the earliest level. There are animals bone of the deer and pig of the wild. Also, cattle bones are most common, like domesticated one who used in the agriculture process, suggesting that this was animal that was generally kept by the people. Now we have earlier and later label, like archaeologists used to dug. And since you have seen that many things which buried underground, then we used to make a new ground and build a new settlement there. And then after destroying all the things, there comes a new ground. Then we prepare new ground, and then we used to make it. This is how there are number of layers. A rebuilding house at the same places. And these houses have been like square and rectangular, having more than four compartments, some of which may have been used for the storage. And there is some belief that there is a life after death, because people the the dead bodies which have been buried inside dirt, they were placed with their food, and they are like goats and all other things. People used to visit there, and this is what means that the people believe in the life after death. And then we have Dawsi Hari. There is a Dawsi Hari which is near the Brahmaputra Valley in the northeastern region. The routes leading to China and Myanmar. There are in there are tools including mortar and pestles. This indicates that people were probably growing grain, preparing food from it. There is a jadeite type of material which have been not found in India. They were also common in that places, which means that they might have been brought from China. Also, common finds of the tools made of the fossil wood, like ancient wood that is hardened into a stone due to the pressure, and pottery is there. So, Cattle Hayuk was a town in Turkey. Turkey, several things were bought from the great distance, from the Syria, Red Sea, Mediterranean, and used to remember there was no carts, most of them carried on a backpack of animal like cattle by the people. Now we are moving to the chapter number 4, and we are moving to chapter number 4, and we are going to stop it here today, and I will try to cover the things in very efficient manner in the subsequent lectures, and this is just a try that if I'm successful, if you like it, then I will continue for further. if there is need to add something, then you can also comment, and I will try my best to add something here. Thank you. Good day.